Welcome to the CG Pro Show. This is episode 3, and we have a action-packed show for you today. I'm going to bring on my co-host, Mr. Andy Cochran, in the house.
Am I doing the music? Is that still a thing?
That's after 4 conferences and setting up a brand new studio. I think it's still rocking. We're here with episode 3. We have a ton to get through, and I'm not sure if we're even going to get through it all. But if you enjoy the show, please do go over to our newsletter and sign up. You will hear more about these events that happen every week. Also, if you enjoy it a lot, we have a subscription community called the Inner Circle. Come and join it. We'll be going through all of these things, teaching this every week as well. So this show today has a very special guest who is a good friend of ours, and I'm going to bring her on as well. Here we go. Danny.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. Danny is a creative technology producer, according to the lower third there, but she's a lot more than that, and has had an amazing career in Imagineering and worked with Lux Machina and many other things as well. Danny, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Awesome. Really grateful to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Well, let's jump in.
You guys have all recovered from the jet lag of Amsterdam?
Yeah.
I didn't have it too bad. Yeah. It was
Excellent.
a miracle. I've
Nice
definitely
to see
had
you again remotely. It was nice to see you in person.
For sure. Yeah, we're definitely gonna get stuck into a little bit of what happened over in Amsterdam, most of it. And of the jet lag coming back, my trick was staying up on the plane and then not sleeping when I got back until it was bedtime, and that hard reset. But
I tested out a new approach to dealing with jet lag in both directions, which is do exactly what you're not supposed to do and hope to God that it works out. And it did. I took a nap when I arrived, didn't sleep on the plane, the red eye on the way out, took a nap, and then on the way back, barely slept on the plane and went to bed early. Yeah, no, did it absolutely wrong, and it miraculously worked out. So I'm sure I'll do that again.
Everything I wasn't supposed to do and had absolutely miserable jet lag. But here we are. So
we're on the other side of it now.
To do, and it worked out. Andy did what he wasn't supposed to do, and it worked out. Danny did what she wasn't supposed to do, and it was disastrous. But
yeah, so 2 out of 3, we nailed it.
That means that I've been up for absolute hours before. We also came back much later because, as you know, we're moving to the Netherlands, so we spent a lot of time over there.
Yeah, you were on a reconnaissance mission, and I'd love to
find out more about that.
I feel bad. I've taken Ed off of his script. Ed, what are we supposed to be talking about? I don't have a script.
We're gonna get into it. I don't have a script. That's the whole point of the show.
I meant an agenda, but go.
We're gonna start with our crazy corner this time, and I'm gonna bring mine up first.
Just so people know about the crazy corner, we do not share these videos or stories with each other beforehand. So this is as much a surprise to each of us as it is to you. Take it, Ed. What you got?
All right, here we go. I don't think we get sound yet. I'm still trying to figure out sound on this streaming platform. But here we go. I'm going to play this short.
I'm a huge fan of the.
What?
Oh God, are you kidding me?
No,
I was gonna say I'm a big fan of the putting cartoon eyes on things, but no, we don't need.
Basically, like it makes a decision of how much spice is appropriate, right? But is it
and which spice?
Like Midwest or like the coasts? Because I feel like
Spicer.
Is it like UK spice or?
So huge misstep. I'm already going to call the failure of this product. they're saying that it's an AI powered spice infuser, and the word AI is not in the name of the product. How are we supposed to know?
They should have
Total
called it
failure.
like the
We should have called it
spacer.
Spice-
Spacer.
Spicer. I was a huge fan when it started because I love the like cartoonifying real world objects, and I'm out. This looks like a super. I bet you each of those spice modules is super expensive.
Mhm.
And this is literally just what you can do with your hands, but turned into like a battery powered. I'm sure it's not charged when you need to use it. I'm out. If this is Shark Tank, if this is Shark Tank, for this reason, I'm out. This looks like a. This
What
looks
about all
like
those times where you're just confused about what to put into your recipe? Maybe it has a like
I
a
feel
nose
like I
and
can
it
read
can
and
tell
understand the
what's...
recipe better than Spicer can. I'm just saying.
I will say I have only used it a teeny tiny bit, but I have a bunch of friends that have started using ChatGPT for cooking, where they'll say, "This is what I have. This is the mood I'm in, whatever," and it comes up with a recipe, and it's great. I do have two separate friends who have made a statement, something along the lines of ChatGPT tricked me into going keto, or like it was two different things. But that was the language they used of that they were tricked into going keto, and I forget. I think it was Cro-Magnon and keto, and it was literally that just it had recommended some stuff, and then after a while they realized like I can't eat those. What am I? What diet am I on?
How small those spice things compared to that hand? I feel like that's an AI created video because the size of
Well, you
this
have
I
to
would assume so.
go
Does he
scrub
have
back.
big fingers.
Go back a little.
Which part?
Just like a hand reference. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like there's like little itty bitty things of spice in there.
So
you're
Yeah.
right. They probably charge you $50 a piece for.
Here's where I'm going to loop back to being back on board. Oh, they're I think they're tiny. Here's where I'm going to loop back to maybe being back on board, which is that I have never used spices at home that probably weren't too old, because we sell spices in too large of a container. And so you're sort of like, oh, I need cumin for the first time in 8 months. And that like tiny little sprinkle of cumin that you put on your dish, that's like a 10-year-old bottle by the time you get to the point where you're going to throw it away.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a solution to aging spices as well. You just put them in really expensive tiny capsules.
So basically, the only good thing about the AI spice dispenser is the fact that it has small spice containers. So nothing to do with the tech.
No, it's totally tangential. They solve
limitless combinations with these 6 spices. That is the whitest thing ever.
Amazing.
Any curry from anywhere, for sure. It's all good. All right.
Also, I find it amusing that cumin is the thing that Andy called out, because I go through bottles of cumin. It is like the number one. It's like, oh, what did you add into this? Oh, I just threw some cumin in.
Yeah.
And ChatGPT told me to add it to my chicken recipe the other day, and it was very delicious. Just a good choice.
All right, I'm gonna hang up my one, Andy.
Take it away. I got one real quick. So this okay, this is gonna go absolutely crazy for a second, and then it'll
expecting crazy.
Yep, there we go. So this is kind of a continuation of in episode 1 we looked at a hunter killer robot. So, and we were talking about how, like, don't call them, it was called the hunter, literally. So this is where things have progressed to now. There is a point to this, to them chainsawing their robot dog. So this is a company, Skilled, that is basically doing self-adapting robot locomotion. And so they're focused on the brains, which is bipedal, quadruped, etc. And so it's adaptive to, and in some cases this is them essentially, in software disabling joints for that it has to adapt to. This is pretty wild stuff.
You can wound it and it will still keep.
And it'll figure out. Yeah, it won't stop. So this is going to be combined with the hunter. I mean, this one to me is pretty impressive, where they've just completely changed the dynamics, and that was super quick.
It's really impressive in its ability. Also, I find it fascinating that I'm emotionally attached them harming this robot, right? I'm like, why are they
So
cutting the dog's legs off? That's so
so
mean.
so I did warn that this was a two-parter. So that's part one. This is pretty interesting. It's a cool company in terms of like this is some pretty advanced stuff.
Two legs.
Having robots kind of figure out how their appendage, all their different joints and appendages work. This now, does it switch or do I have to switch it? Do you see now okay, we should we start wearing? Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
good. The answer is yes.
This
We should
is like
start
one where he
wearing.
I saw this thing. Yeah.
We got to stop. Like chainsawing the dog's legs off, horrible. But we got to stop. This is not. You combine you combine Skilled's ability for these robots to kind of like retrain and retrain with this company's demonstrating the robot by beating the hell out of it. And I think you take those two and you put them together and we're in a really, really bad spot.
At least the robot can only kick. It doesn't have any machine guns.
Yet. So anyway, that is my crazy corner. Is we are absolutely training the robots to kill us.
Yeah, it's interesting. Years ago, I worked on a thing at Disney called Stuntronics. Yeah, which is the Spider-Man, the leaping Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I remember the guy who invented the technology that figures it out, Morgan. Originally, it was like a stick, right? And it just figured out how to center itself. And I was right. And so that's how Stuntronics works, is it adjusts because it knows where it is in space and it uses a gyro to adjust so that it always lands where it's supposed to land. And I remember seeing it the very first time and being like, man, this is never going to work. Like, this cool project, lots of money, but this is never going to work. And then seeing it work in the park was amazing. That was 10 years ago. And seeing where we've come, like, people were like, this is amazing. That robot looks like Spider-Man. Now it's like literally a standing, fighting, self-adjust
robot.
The crazy thing too is some of these robots. I don't know if that last video falls in this category, but I've seen humanoid robots available to consumers at the $3,000 to $6,000 level.
Wow.
And that is, sure, I'm sure that they are not as capable of any sort of complex motion, but just getting the hardware. Just the motors and the various sensors required into a $3,000 package is insane.
When do I get Rosie, who uses the Spicer, to make my dinner?
Built-in Spicer. It's an attachment.
Right?
It's an attachment. That's where we're absolutely headed.
Really expensive for those pieces.
I'm ready
for the Jetsons.
You just have to take one of the arms off and replace it with the spice dispenser.
Well, that's what the chainsaw was for.
Yeah.
I just want something to cook me dinner every night.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for sure. I think that's probably possible already, even with a human. The next section, Andy, cue the music, is our interview the guest. So our special guest this week is Danny. Danny, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions here just to introduce you and get to know you a little bit, even though we know you're already, but maybe other people don't. So what's your name and what do you do?
My name is Danny Bellar-Palookas, and I'm a creative technology virtual production producer. So I came from Imagineering, and I do a touch of like when people want to do crazy technical things, they bring me in as a producer, but also like I do virtual production. Like I just did Fallout Season 2 of that December. So that was shot in LA. That was my most recent project. And and I'm moving to the Netherlands. I'm currently LA based, but I won't be soon.
So you do virtual production and moving to the Netherlands.
That's what I do.
Very cool. Yeah.
That's what you're in charge of.
I also teach, and I do a ton of different stuff, but I think it's really hard. I think nowadays, especially with what's happening in LA and the combination of the difficulty of working, like everybody's become a multi-hyphenate, right? Everybody does a little of this and a little of that and a lot of this in order to make it all work. So like, when production slows down, I go back to my immersive experiences. When Imagineering slowed down, literally, I went to virtual production. So like, there's always this like switching. In the end, I think what I do is I explain technology to creatives.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Do you find your resume difficult to explain to people, or do people tend to kind of what's the weirdest?
Yeah, I find it's funny when I started freelancing and opened my own company, someone said, you probably won't get hired because somebody needs a producer, right? Because they have producers within their company and I'm expensive. But you'll get hired because somebody needs a Danny, right? They'll know your reputation. They'll know the thing you do. They'll know that, like, when I come in, I'm not just one vertical. I'm definitely looking across multiple things, deciding how we move forward, looking for those spaces to improve what we're doing. And so in that way, like, for work purposes, I don't really, because people generally come to me. I mean, a lot of people on LinkedIn have offered to send me contacts for more for more work. Yeah. But for, like, when I'm on a trade floor or somebody and someone says, what do you do? It's like such a hard 1 or 2 sentence answer because I do so many different things.
What's an aspect of your professional career that you don't really talk about very much, just because it just creates more chaos, more something you really enjoy doing, but it's just like, I'm just going to confuse you if I tell you I also do blank.
So all the things I just said, and also I have my SAG card as a stunt rigger, and
there it is. I knew it.
Last year, right?
I knew it.
Like, it is this absolutely insane, like, and also.
I knew it. I knew there was one. I didn't know that, but I knew there was there had to be something in there.
Yeah.
Stunts. That's wild. All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Different question. What's your favorite guilty pleasure movie you've seen 100 times that you're embarrassed about?
Wait, I have to be embarrassed by it? Because I'm not embarrassed.
You could be
my
not
guilty pleasure movie, though, is like Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is the single greatest film
of all time.
And it also feeds into who I am, because it's not just that it's like a step forward in technology. It's the fact that, like, some guys in a room started playing with a computer to figure out what they could do. Yeah. A guy walks by and goes, that looks cool, let's put it in the movie, right? And I think that's so much of what we do, right? Like, nobody necessarily gives us the thing and says, go solve this problem for us. There is a problem. We look for a solution, and then we try to see if someone will stop by our office and check it out.
Yep.
and give us more money to make it happen, and hopefully that guy, has a whole lot of money and can afford what we want to do.
There's we need to have like an industry term for Jurassic Park 1, which is, everyone's always makes statements like, why does the CG still hold up? And, why don't these dinosaurs look as good as those dinosaurs? And it's true. Jurassic Park 1 looks better than every other Jurassic Park movie. And it's such a testament to skill, to artistry, to craftsmanship, to using the right tool.
CG in a movie.
Yeah, to using to using the right tools, right? Because it's not all CG, but it's
3 minutes.
Puppets and animatronics and CG, and really seamlessly blending between them.
Like 3 minutes
Andy,
of CG.
I feel like it's saying using the right tools in the toolkit, which
almost
is pretty much the phrase I use about virtual production. Like, it's like, these are all just tools in your toolkit. They're not meant to be one thing that you always use. They're not, when you have a hammer, it looks like a nail.
I wish that the power users of these tools would say that, ever.
Yeah. Next question.
Daily.
What do you think people should focus on the most in the next 2 years in computer graphics, film, visual effects?
AI. I mean, that's the reality is, it's here, it's coming. I can certainly put myself underneath like a hermit in a crab, but it's not going to work. I think understanding the tools, learning how to use the tools, and guiding how the tools are used in production is going to be really important.
So you're saying AI is a tool?
I'm saying, right? It's a tool. We talked at the HP booth at IBC. We were talking to some folks who were saying that, like, they figured out that when they use AI to create their sets from scratch, basically, that's great. It gets into the 80%. But then when they try to adjust something, it all breaks, right? And I was saying, what I have seen with more success is we create a thing with artists, and then we use AI to plus it. Yep. Right? So it's kind of flipping that script so that we bring it to the 80%, and then we allow the AI to polish it. And I have found that to be more successful. Not that that's necessarily where anyone's headed. We've got a lot of people who just want to, like, well, I can just create my set in a day. And you can, depending on what your level of fidelity is that you're asking for, how much you want to understand where that thing came from. Because, if you're a great big brand, I would caution against using something you can't prove ownership of.
Right.
Right. But if you're like a kid doing a student project at USC and you want to use virtual production to put some stuff on a 65-inch monitor and film it, heck, go for it. Right.
Nuts.
What it is allowing is the democratization of these tools and the ability for anybody to do it. That's really cool to me. And I don't think it's going to destroy the industry, because I think it's just going to bring more people in. And I'm not too worried about large studios still wanting to hire professionals to do a professional job.
It seems like they're all putting AI in their job titles right now, for sure. But which brings us nicely to
I'll reboost too. So like, I'm an AI professional.
Here, I'll edit my I'll edit my Chiron. There you go.
So next section, we highlight for the week is broadcast. Andy, cue the music.
Bum, ba, bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, ba-ba.
That's a good one.
Yep.
Broadcast, because we're coming back from IBC, where we were all together, the HP booth. We had 15 or 16 talks at the booth, very educational focus. Let's start with Danny. What was your key takeaways from being at IBC in terms of where broadcast is going?
So I think it's interesting. It's my first IBC. So that was like just seeing that feel, right?
Oh, all of us, all three of us.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
So what I found interesting was two things. One, where broadcast is going. We just talked about it. It's definitely going towards AI. It's going towards these like backgrounds and things. But I also think as an industry, man, we really want things that are real and authentic. We want to talk to each other. There were a lot of cameras out there that had nothing to do with AI, that were about creating spaces that allow us to be more nimble. But at the same time, it's not recording a robot that can box or a Spicer. It's recording, real people in real situations. It's an opportunity to get more information out. I think particularly, especially as an American citizen, I'm a little worried about what is authentic news and what's real, and how do I know that I'm getting new and correct information? And I think that's where we're going to see, how are we proving our authenticity? And I think that's, in my opinion, that's where broadcast is going. And I saw that in the conversations. I don't feel like IBC is really a thing where you go and see some piece of technology you've never seen before, because you've heard about the technology. There was a great demo going on in one of the booths, but that exact same demo was played 2 years ago at NAB. Right. So it's not like there was a brand, right? It was a great demo and it showed virtual production well. And I used it as part of my NAB talks, but it was 2 years old. So, I think it's more meeting the people that you need and talking about where they think things are going. And it is exciting. I think broadcast, as opposed to production, is really moving quickly, and we're getting a lot more people into it.
Yeah. Ed and I were talking, it was all of our first IBCs. Everyone says it's the NAB of Europe, and I think that held up. I've done NAB a bunch. This is the first time I've done an IBC, and I agree. It was about the people. It wasn't about the tech. It was just connecting with people, talking with people. But I also, at conferences, especially SIGGRAPH, NAB, and I guess IBC, have always felt like a good sort of like pH meter test for how the industry is doing. There's definitely a really memorable 2009 SIGGRAPH was in New Orleans, and it was pretty much dead. It was, it was right after the 2007, 2008 economic collapse, and the sort of the downturn of the industry was palpable. And I didn't do NAB for years because of COVID and work, but NAB this year, I can't describe the mood at NAB. It wasn't super hopeful. It wasn't super positive, but it also wasn't negative. I think it was just, it was almost kind of like everyone was like neutral. IBC had a lot of real positive kind of energy. There was a lot of people excited about the stuff they were doing and excited to. It felt like, okay, if this is a curve, the IBC crowd, the broadcasters, they're a little bit higher up the toe than I think the production folks are.
I wonder
Something
if that's
interesting
also
I think about
Europe versus America right now.
Yeah.
Like the international.
Yeah, very different economics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Different markets for sure. And
Yeah.
there's some interesting things with broadcast that we were chatting about yesterday. Is broadcast in general, well, so often is live and therefore has to push the technology harder in senses, has to push the real-time rendering, or has to push things to be able to work in real time, which is an extra stress test for some of the tech. One of the things I thought that was really, really interesting from NAB New York before, and I probably said this before, was just seeing how at that event, because it was in New York and it gets foot traffic from New York, they had this whole section on one side, basically half the event kind of devoted to the creator economy or the influencer economy, as opposed to the traditional broadcast economy, which I know is not a new thing to announce to the world, but it was so visually, viscerally, or whatever, evident to me there that there was that is getting so many more eyeballs and so much more attention, that and those people were fascinated with the technology as well. The young people that were in there looking at the tech, podcast tech in general, but still seeing that shift, I think, is something that is fascinating.
The thing too, Ed, you and I had talked about this when we were still at IBC. Neither of us has we have a tangential to broadcast career, right? Broadcast is not foreign to anything we've done, but it's also not, it's not our bread and butter, our comfort zone. And there's a couple things that are really interesting about the broadcast space. And I think we typically hear about it with the Olympics, where the Olympics is always pushing new camera tech, new sort of real-time different technologies. But their adoption of ST2110, which is just putting video and audio onto a network, and so it's going through network switches instead of video switches. They're not just first; they're in. Like, there's many broadcast trucks that are full 2110, so the cameras into the truck are on fiber, the trucks are fiber, and it might go to more traditional infrastructure after that. But they're not just talking about how good 2110 will be someday. They're putting it, and it's not even the B system. It's not it's the A system is ST2110. They're using it, they're breaking it, they're fixing it, and that's, I think, more brave than traditional production. We're really hesitant to put new technologies in a single point of failure kind of position, especially as we were doing virtual production. There was always like, we can always go to the pre-rendered plates. We've always got a plan B. We can always take 10 minutes down and figure that out, but you can't do that on a live broadcast. You have seconds at most to absorb any kind of problem. And that extends also to what they call AR graphics, which, as an XR creator, I hate. Well, I hate when a single industry sort of overloads terms. But to them, AR graphics is any kind of real-time rendered, tracked into the plate graphic, which is, I wouldn't call it AR, but that's fine. But they were pushing Unreal into live broadcasts years ago. Even before we were really pushing it into a slightly lower pressure virtual production environment. And then that extends again to AI. They're living, breathing, and saying in the broadcast side, AI is just a tool. It's about pipeline. It's about efficiencies. It's about appropriate use. They're actually doing that, while us, the three nerds on this show, as well as the hundreds like us, are screaming these things. And I was joking when you were saying that, like, I wish some nerd would say that. We're screaming it daily, all day, every day. It's just a tool. It's just a tool. It's just a tool. It's just a tool. It's just a tool.
Yeah.
It's just a tool. But at IBC, there was no sort of, I've been really annoyed by our side of the industry, the production side of the industry, just being so weak about AI. It's use it or don't. Don't say we trained on our own data. more artists. We used more artists, and there was creativity, and it was really minimal AI. And in fact, we didn't even use. I don't know. We didn't even want to use it, so we didn't use it. Whereas in broadcast, they're saying, we're using LLMs in live broadcast to do the, to call up graphics. We're doing this. We're doing that. Like they're using it in the way that the honest people on the production side are using it, but they have none of the dishonesty of like, oh no, we're using it, but we're not the bad guy. We're not. There's none of that in broadcast.
But Andy, I think that's also where we are in the industry, because the challenge is, like, broadcast, like we just said, is positive and growing, and so people are like worried, right? Production. I live in LA right now, right? Production is, we all do, right? Quiet. It's quiet. It's tough. Everybody I know is, 1 or 2
underemployed,
out of work, right?
Yep.
So I think it's very hard to talk about using AI when we're looking at so many VFX artists that are currently looking for work. So it's a challenge. I will say, though, to our reference of Jurassic Park earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Park was like the end of stop motion. This is the end of stop motion. We'll never use it again.
Killed it.
Absolutely, though, not true. Like, there are still things we use, and the artists who learned how to use both tools were the most successful. And I think that's the thing with AI, is it's going to be, if you are an artist, a traditional VFX artist, who learns how to use these new tools, you are more powerful, honestly, than the kid who just graduated and has only ever used, right? Like, yes, they've used the coolest tools and they understand how to use AI, but they have no concept of color and scale and composition and all of the other things that we learn in our years in the industry. So I think that's part of why production is doing the, like, no, but we didn't even really use it, right? And I agree.
Not us.
Honestly, though, it feels as bad as, remember it was the VFX pushback of, like, Top Gun and Barbie and stuff, and by the way,
still here.
films that Lex Monica worked on.
Yep.
In virtual production, right?
Yep.
That it was like, oh, but we didn't really use any of that stuff. It was all done practically. And it's like, why do we have this obsession with, we didn't use more artists? Because that's what we're really saying, right? We did it practically. We didn't use more artists. Why can't we just say we used more artists?
I have a theory on that exact topic, which is, I think the AI pushback from most people, not from artists that feel threatened. That's a different thing. The pushback on AI video in particular and imagery is, to me, the same pushback as the no CGI, the VFX pushback, which, this is just my theory. The audience, the consumer in the world, is aware when something was cheap to produce, etc. And if they know that the story is that we're taking all of our visual effects overseas, we're getting subsidies and rebates, we're using pennies on the dollar, cheap labor, but we're charging you more to see that movie. The ticket price is up. So you're charging me more for a product that was cheaper for you to make.
Yeah.
So now every time I see something that I can feel is fake, for whatever reason, that's bad VFX. That's bad CGI. And to me, I think it really is, you paid $20 for that shot instead of $200,000, but you still charged me, $25 a ticket to see it. So I feel like you're cheaping out on it.
But it's interesting because these companies are using US based, like, these aren't,
totally,
company that worked on them. Like, they're huge things. It is funny, though. I saw a horror movie lately. I won't mention it because the animation was so bad that I found myself, like, I found it a hysterical parody. And I'm pretty sure that's not what they were going for, but the animation was awful. I'll tell you guys offline what it was.
Looking forward to it. We have a question coming. We've got to keep rolling. We've got so much more to cover.
We got a lot of ground to cover.
Got to keep it snappy. Somebody's curious, though, in the chat. How's the move to the Netherlands working, hypothetically speaking? If there are other professionals watching, thinking moving out of LA sounds great, what advice do you have?
So the move to the Netherlands is going very well. They have a great visa. One of the things I appreciate is that every time there's an article about moving outside of the United States in, like, a major newspaper, they forget the Netherlands, which I appreciate. I think that I have been freelancing for the last 3 years. I've barely worked in LA. I did Fallout. That's the only real production I've done here. Most of my productions have been in Europe or in the UK or Asia. So if I'm going to travel anywhere, I don't need to live here. So, the Netherlands has a unique visa for entrepreneurs, which we can qualify as freelancers, which is fantastic. But I do think I definitely, in my friend group, everybody kind of has their eyes up. They're looking for what other options are available. And my husband and I started this conversation like 10 years ago. We were looking more for like, where do we want to live out our life after we stop working the crazy hours and the nutso, right? And, we realize we love to travel, and moving someplace where we can take a train to go to places is amazing. So while there's also lots of reasons, LA is very expensive. A lot of the work isn't here. As Andy pointed out, a lot of the work is being outsourced. So, I've had companies who now outsource to Europe who are interested in hiring me to handle those artists. Because
you're gonna go pick up your own job.
Yeah, they can get their US based LA person now to be, now not US based, but the same skill set. Because there is a difference in skill sets. I think that partially just because LA is very dog eat dog and hard to achieve, and therefore you got to be really good to succeed. Not that other teams aren't excellent out there, but I do think there's a preponderance of talent in LA that doesn't necessarily exist in many other markets.
Yeah.
Good answer. All right. Our next section, Andy, cue the music.
Yeah, we're too cheap to use AI to make the music or do little graphics. So
news of the week. All right, here we go. Let's go in. So we mentioned SMPTE 2110 already a little bit. I'm going to jump in that case with some Adobe updates. I got a couple of quick shares. We saw this. They did some talks at the HP booth at IBC. We saw a little bit of this already, and as long as my computer behaves properly, I'm going to share this one real quick. This is Adobe Firefly Boards, I think is the name. And is it coming up? Here it is.
It's coming. It's thinking.
There Firefly Boards. I'm probably running way too many things on my right now. Firefly Boards is kind of like a Miro type thing. It's pretty cool. You can pull pictures in and move them around, align them, make little shapes like this. You can add text and arrows and all that stuff you're used to. But one thing that's really interesting is you can click on the image and then it gives you all these options down below, and it gives you access to be through Firefly or through Gemini. So you can see the old Nana Banana. Got to say that at least once on every show.
It's required. Legally required.
It is. You pick your model and you can do edits with it. You can remove backgrounds, make changes. This one over here on the left was a real quick one where I just said, make the shirt green. And it did just that. You can make variations. This one over here was a expand, a generative expand. It basically did an out paint kind of a thing from this in the middle here. It filled out all the things around it. So it's not just a sort of artboard, but it has some beginnings of some workflow in there as well.
Nice.
This is something. This points at something that I've kind of been, not screaming about, but really I think that it's a deficiency in the generative AI world, which is having something integrated into a usable workflow, either integrated into an application that's already being used, or like this, the workflow of creating mood boards and collaborating with people. That trumps any sort of capability of the specific generative model. Having to spin up Comfy UI, or back in the day, Automatic 1111, and get your prompts and your settings and generate some images and keep pulling the slot just to kind of get like an image that sort of like indicates what you're thinking, and then you put that into some kind of shared document like a Miro board. That workflow is ultimately more powerful than this Adobe Firefly Boards, because you have really granular control, Comfy UI, whatever, of every pixel. But the fact that it sits outside of a collaborative workflow, a pipelinable, a industry sort of familiar workflow, I'll
There's a comfy
take
version.
yeah, I'll take you know, Adobe's kind of, I would say, second if not third class Firefly generation in Photoshop over spinning up Comfy UI to generate elements to bring into Photoshop and slap them together. Maybe not for sort of trying to get to some sort of final pixel, but for moving at the speed of thought and ideating,
Yeah.
this is the way to go. And it may not be Adobe's going to dominate the world and somebody will imitate them, but this is the mentality. It should, you got to get into the workflow, not come up with a new workflow that's on the side.
And I think
Well,
I
speaking
remember
of,
from him showing that you can also like right click on it and it'll show generatively how it was created, right? Like
Yeah.
it also shows your path, which I think is really important because again, it's the future is going to be about how do you own what you're doing? How
Sure.
can you show that this is your art?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's injecting stuff into tools as well, like this example here, which is in Photoshop. My computer is running way too many things.
Yeah, there you go.
So Photoshop, here we have this original image. This is the Photoshop beta that's out in Creative Cloud at the moment. And with this template, I guess, you just start it and ask it to do this kind of work. If you have your original image here, you can essentially select the whole frame. You can go to generative fill, and now you can choose Nana Banana. There it is again.
There it is.
In Photoshop. So you can run this inside Photoshop and regenerate the image and just ask it to do a little bit. And I've got a couple of things I made here just from this example here. So there's me saying, make the pants green. And there it is. Just did it. Next one was give her a mohawk. And then make
And
it
are
look
these
even
singular
more punk.
prompts, Ed?
Yeah, just straight in Photoshop. Start with this image. If I did another one real quick, you just go generative fill, choose Nana Banana or Flux. They've got Flux in there, Nana Banana and
That's awesome.
Firefly, and you can say like make the dress red. I'm just going to go off and do its thing for a minute, and as you can see, doing this in real time, it doesn't take very long, and it's pretty specific. It doesn't mess much of the rest of the frame. I've seen some slight changes with it.
Well,
there you go.
And here too,
It also adjusted her shadow, like everything. Like I didn't saw the mohawk in the shadow. Like it's really freaking smart.
The power with this too, to what I was just saying, is these are Photoshop layers, right? So if you don't like some aspect of it, you can go in and either just regenerate that aspect of it by mask selecting, or just generate 2 or 3 options and use standard Photoshop masking and blending tools. And this, when Firefly Beta came out in Photoshop in mid 23, I was working on a project using a lot of Stable Diffusion in Automatic 1111, and Firefly was in every way worse. And yet I used the Photoshop Firefly for clean plating and sort of, getting elements together, because it was way faster to sort of cobble the inferior generated results together in Photoshop than it was to generate superior results in Automatic 1111 and bring them into Photoshop. So it really is like, this is the thing that Silicon Valley has not glommed onto yet, which is don't invent a new tool and a new way of working and give that to artists. Find a way to get your tool into how artists already think and work and are familiar. And it doesn't matter if you've got, the biggest, generalized model or the, highest resolution results. It is workflow, and quality.
Speaking of workflow, there's another example right here. We have this thing called Weavy, which
Cool.
Some people may have heard of, but has either of you guys used this one?
I haven't used it, but I'm familiar with it.
So this is a browser-based collaborative. Essentially the model is you can pay for credits, and then it's like $20 a month. You get 1,500 credits, which in theory is 3,000 images or 400 seconds of video, but it's for all the models. So inside here, you've got access to, on the left here, you've got, there's Veo 3, there's Flux and Kling and all the stuff that you would want, Runway, etc. But there's all these other things in here which allow you to be able to kind of connect a workflow together. So you've got loading in a file, like an image file. This next one did a remove background. And then we've got a prompt to create a kind of lava conference room, evil villains, hideout kind of image that used Google. And then there's a compositor node, which takes the two and puts them together. And you can kind of edit that and do your layout in here before you get moving. You can kind of pick your elements and move them around. And then the next step, sorry, my computer has got like all the things loaded for these demos. It might take a second to resolve. After this composer,
I was gonna say, while that's chugging, an observation, Comfy UI is sort of like Blender 2.79, where if you ask the developers of Comfy UI, it is better. This is a better way of doing it. It's more powerful. This is the future. And then they started listening to to real users, real artists, and this is Comfy UI. This is Comfy UI, as Blender 2.8, where instead of kind of like proprietary almost nodes and language and way of thinking and working, they're going background removal. That's a process. So this is the node that removes the background. Compositor, that's you put things together. Doing these sorts of
AED code.
yeah. And I'm not saying like we're not smart and we can't figure these things out.
It just prohibits it for many people.
Yeah. This is great.
This this then flows into, you could push it into Kling or Veo. This one, you're not going to hear the sound again, but this made a little video.
It's great.
Saying it's getting hot in here. And then afterwards you can do more compositing, and you can build a little workflow, but it's simple.
It's usable. It's usable. Yeah. That's some of my favorite.
It's not like the comfy spider web.
Don't. I'm going to go on a rant again. The thing that has become kind of true in the generative AI world, the sort of prompt engineers and AI artists of the world, the ones that I think are doing genuinely good work, the ones I actually follow on Instagram or seek out their work, for the most part, they're all in Runway and Kling, and they're in the the consumer children's toy very little control interfaces, and it's because they're using tools that don't do a lot or are very simplified interfaces, so they're focusing on the creativity and they're generating great stuff.
Yeah,
I follow a lot of people that are just hard nerds that are doing stuff in Comfy UI. I haven't seen something enjoyable come out of a single one of them. It's all sort of like about workflows and trying the new model and trying to get this into that. And I'm a huge proponent of these kind of simplified user interfaces and workflows, because it lets artists be artists instead of it's an age-old complaint against Houdini that's gotten better over time, which is Houdini artists historically enjoy the process of making a tool that will deliver the pixels. They don't necessarily care too much about the specific pixels. They do. I'm not calling them not artists, but the joy of using Houdini is solving a very difficult technical problem. But if you ask a Houdini artist, how'd you do that? They'll talk about the process, not the creativity, not the, like I thought it should be a little bit louder, so I did this. It's the same in the generative AI world, where I see, the folks, the Comfy UI and other interface folks, they're just in love with the process, and they're not focused at all on the output. And it's interfaces like this that really unlock stuff. And we need to get rid of this weird gatekeepy. If you don't know which LoRa should be applied in which order, then you're not an artist. Like, we got to get rid of this, like, technical
It's coming.
gatekeeping.
It's coming.
It's happening.
here.
It's happening.
It's showing through. Danny, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it's interesting. There's a Instagram post I watched the other day that like starts out talking about like high level LEDs as theatrical lighting, and then in like 2 seconds they go to you're nerds, all of you. No one's watching this video that isn't a nerd, and like that's what the actual video is it's like all you're doing is watching videos from people that are believe the same thing you do, which is right, like, you know, go outside.
I love it.
That we do get in that place where like we hang out with a bunch of people who are in the same conversation, and then we have the same conversation. And the ability to remove tools. Years and years and years ago, when I started programming automation, my secret tool was that I worked with directors who would say, you know, I need the curtain to be sadder. And I worked with a bunch of engineers who would say, great, what number is that, right? How fast is that, right? And my job is to go, okay, go away, let me play with it, and let me see what I can do. Because I come from a performance background. And I think you're right, as we get the technical tools so that they're an easier thing for creative people to use. Again, none of this is Final Pixel, but a lot of it is really cool stuff that is still gonna, you know, I read this thing the other day that our current generation, Gen Alpha, like doesn't sit down for full movies, right? They want everything in these short bursts. Apparently they're looking at taking a bunch of films and cutting them up so that Gen X or that Gen Alpha will watch them. As a Gen Xer, I would like to object. I object.
Maybe we just need the interlude back, you know, get the lady out with the cigarettes and the candy or whatever.
Send everybody to the lobby.
Turn cinema back into vaudeville. Let's just do
But
acts.
I think even in my own house, I find that like probably 60% of the evenings we're on YouTube versus watching long form editorial content, which is pretty sad considering that's what we mostly produce. But you know, I'm fascinated by watching people. You know, I'm moving to the Netherlands. I'm getting a ton of information about that. Watching people who are real time in it, and it doesn't feel like the falseness of a lot of the media I'm seeing because it feels authentic. It feels real, and I think that's the thing that we're looking for. And so, if I take a creative artist and I use these AI tools to tell a story, and that story is in short form because that's what's possible here. You're not going to render out a 2-hour movie. Well, you might, but not without a lot of money and compute power. You know, I think that's how stories are going to be told. And in the end, I think all of us, we're just in it I'm in it for the storytelling, right?
Yeah. No,
I'm going to bring up another one right here.
Bring it up. Nobody, like literally, I've been saying this about VFX for a while. You know, nobody who wants to be an animator grew up with dreams of editing keyframes and Bezier curves, right? Like if you want to be an animator, it's because you want to breathe life into analog or digital characters, right? You want to act through some medium. And I think the same is happening right now with AI. It's like there isn't a single storyteller, entertainer, whatever term you want to, that has dreams of prompt engineering, right?
Right.
Like that's the process, that's the means, that's the tools, but the output is the experience. And I think that's you know.
All right, here we go.
Here's another one.
So this is Unreal Engine with the viewport on the left hand side, and then ViewGen, which is a plugin that somebody has just made, and I will try and put their name in the show notes. But this person's made a plugin which is $6 on Gumroad and allows you to be able to hook into Gemini. You need to get the API key and plug it in to make it work, but now you can essentially compose, you know, get your framing, whatever, line that up, hit generate. It goes off to Nano Banana.
There it is. I was going to say, now would this be Nano Banana?
Yeah.
CG Pro
I'm also really appreciating that, like, the car is on the ground, right? As you and I talked about the other day about a very large project that just used a lot of AI products. You know, people's feet aren't on the ground. It drives me insane. How can we, right? But it's solved for that, which is impressive.
This is actually something where I think, you know, I keep saying generative AI is computer generated imagery, stills and video. It is CGI. Those are not two separate concepts. It is a new form of rendering, It's a new form. It's a new type of workflow. But at the end of the day, it's pixels that are generated on a computer using some kind of input. I think that where we're going to start seeing generative AI really blowing up is on animated films and heavy CGI projects. You will have artists use traditional tools to essentially set the look and do keyframes and effectively say, for this sequence, this is what the car looks like, this is what the sky looks like, and then use generative AI to roll that across every shot, and then go in and spot fix. But if you look at like a workflow that works like that, it's like, how is that any different than traditional keyframe animation in terms of like actually doing keyframes, hand animated, shipping them off to, South Korea for a bunch of animators to, do the in-betweening, and it comes back. It is no different. It just shifts the human from like the laborious applying the same lighting rig to every single shot, making sure the materials are applied. Get rid of that aspect of it and have the humans focus on, in this shot, the way that backlight's shining, the subsurface is a little too strong. So we need to tweak. We need to tweak that shot. I think it frees up the humans from those, those non-creative menial tasks, and allows you to put more time.
I'm allergic to your your. I do think it's a different thing, and I do think that there is a human touch that's beneficial. I honestly don't think we're going to see these in clients for a while. I think that you're going to see these tools in other spaces, but I think we're still going to use human beings in the other spaces for a while, because I think you just have so little control of the process. I agree with you that, it's keyframes and then the computer does the pieces in between, but I don't know. Our robot overlords could put anything they want into that frame, and I can't fire the robot overlord, right? And I can't even recognize where it is. Whereas an artist who's not meeting my, I can change the software, prompt the software, give the software more information, but I can't coach them directly like I can with a human being and say, and they don't, I don't know. I just think it's different. I think we will continue to see human beings in many spaces.
Oh, I agree.
And also the back of my head is going, oh man, South Korea is about to lose a huge industry. And I don't think it's Vietnam.
It's everywhere. It's India. And that's a little bit of my hot take about generative AI, is that the jobs that generative AI will steal first are jobs that were stolen,
from
10 years ago. You're going to like, we don't do roto in America anymore. I used to know tons of roto artists. In fact, Jackie from CG Pro was doing roto when we first met. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call and I don't know how to stop it. But
that takes care of that.
Ask them what they think
the
about
artistry. I'm not worried about AI taking artists' time away. I think what it's going to do is it's going to remove roto and tracking and in painting and sort of, the in-betweening and menial tasks, motion capture cleanup, all these things
that's the spaces where it's very strong. I agree. I think there will always be, but the truth is I don't think it's going to get to the final level. And I think there will always be artists that have to do, like you said, the plussing. They're still going to go through and do the final cleanup.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, right. No, I think it's artists through and through.
The beautiful thing is we're going to get to see it all in real time, and
it's happening.
Nobody knows where it's going, but it's all happening. The next one I want to show.
I didn't want to be, I've always wanted to be alive in unprecedented historical times until 2020, when we were like, you know what? Actually,
I liked precedented. Precedented was fine.
Precedented was just fine.
We knew where we were going.
All right, we got a few more things to show. So
yeah, pull it up.
I'm
Go
going to keep us going.
Go.
We got the next one we have is another workflow thing. Google, where is it? Google Mixboard. Here we go. Google's got the board.
Look out, Adobe. Look out, Adobe. They're coming for you.
Google has a board.
Does Google own Miro? Did Miro get acquired by Google?
I don't know. I don't know the answers to that. But they have a board. And it does little bits, I guess, of the same thing that the Firefly one showed. So you can like take this image, for example, and say, I want more like this, and then it goes off and
Is this limited to Gemini generations in terms
I'm
of like
assuming it just
VO
uses its
and
own
Banana?
flash and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, then there
Okay.
you go. It's made you a bunch more images. Not
I'm
very
amused.
specific.
Google just spent the last 3 months telling me it was going to cancel my Gemini membership because I hadn't, right? And then like last month, it was like, just kidding. We're going to raise your overall Google price by a small amount every month. And now we're just giving it to you for free. But
Oh, wow.
it's right. And I was like, wait a minute. So because I wasn't willing to take your bait of the very expensive Gemini thing, because I just don't use it enough, now I'm just going to automatically get it. But it's only a small. Yeah.
It's almost like they don't know where it's going entirely.
Yeah.
You could do remove background in this thing. You can do more like this. You can like pick one and say, okay, for this one here, you can see how when you select it,
Change the time of day.
it
Change the time
shows.
of day.
Yeah, you can prompt it down here to say, okay,
Yeah.
let's say, make this a blue car at midday.
Let's see. Live
See
demo.
what it does.
Live demos.
Risky. This is.
I think.
Oh wait, that's
Yeah,
good.
cue the music. It's Andy's job.
No. I was like, don't take my job.
There you go. There you go.
Nice.
PCH,
Pretty much
here we
midday.
come.
Not,
I mean,
not
this
quite
is-
midday. Slightly
is
off
where-
midday.
Slightly out.
It's close.
I mean, that sun's pretty up.
Yeah, it's up there.
But this
It's
is
in the
I
right
mean,
place for the shadow, at least.
Yeah.
That is exactly how much time should have been spent on that, right? Like in terms of if you're doing a mood board or you're just trying to communicate visually with other people and ideate and stuff, that's how long that should have taken. Instead
Well, and I
of
think I said this to you guys. I cannot draw. I'm completely
Oh, me
incapable.
neither.
I barely
Stick
even do
figures.
stick figures, right? So, like, the truth is, this has changed my workflow so much because a picture's worth 1,000 words. I frequently use images to talk to clients and say, is
Yeah.
this what you were going for? Here are
Yeah.
some examples, right? And I've I've become a pretty good prompter to get those images to the point of where I want them. And it's amazing to me how many professionals aren't using it because they're like, oh, I don't use AI. It's like, right, but this is a thing, like,
You have
again,
to.
we're in concept. No artist was going to be paid to do this. You were just going to have to see my horrible whiteboard sketch. And instead, now you're seeing something that is useful to all of us and that we can all start congregating around and saying,
and we can move on, right? We can move to the real work, right? We all
We
agree it's
never
going to be a
have
blue
enough
car,
time.
sort of like this.
right? Like,
Yeah.
there's
Speaking-
never enough time to be sure that we're all on the same page before we set a budget.
I-
And this is
Speaking
that.
of budget and moving on, I'm whipping us through
He's
this.
good. He's
So,
good. Scrum
we have-
Master in action.
We have this, which I just came across this week, which is a $1 million prize film competition for an AI film. Submit your film. It's 20-minute long film. I think it has to be
I'm excited.
by
I'm
these
excited.
people. $1 million.
I'm excited.
That's the biggest prize by a long way that I've seen for a film contest of any kind. Anyway,
I'm excited because this means that there's somebody out there that could really is wondering if this AI stuff is ever gonna allow them to buy dinner and pay rent and I'm excited for this because I think there's a lot of people out there just really kind of trying to make it work and this is I've never seen $1 million award for any short film. I can't think off the top of my head of when you make a short film in 2025, you are paying for that short film. You pay to make it, you pay to enter it in film festivals, you pay to go to the film festivals, you buy the award. They won't even give you the awards that you win. So this is I couldn't support this more and would love to see. Yeah, just do it. Good. Give money to filmmakers because I guarantee you, whoever wins this is probably going to be somebody who is traditionally trained and adopted AI and realized that they could make something without having to raise, $150,000, and they can just do it themselves. And
or they're going to be a high school student who has an incredible idea that none of us have thought of, right? Like, that's the other place where this talent comes from is these people who in some ways haven't been beat down by the industry and
No,
are
totally.
like, what if I did
Totally.
this? So
Totally.
I think a fine line between them, but I agree. It is traditional VFX tools being used by the AI that makes the difference, but also it is enabling these bright, fresh new voices.
Well, that's the thing, the lever that really short circuits the anti-AI crowd, which is it's not about democratization, it's about DEI, right? It's about actual access to voices that don't have, their parent. Hollywood is nepotism, right? Every successful person, at the top, it's like, well, I mean, their uncle was John Frankenheimer, so like, they kind of grew up on movie sets. So that's the democratization aspect of Gen AI that I actually vote for, which is that there are voices that will never get funded, they'll never get made, they'll never get distributed, that now can just be like, screw it, I'm going to tell my weird niche story about whatever it is, whatever sort of more diverse, less included perspective. So let's give one of them $1 million. Like, let's do that.
Yeah,
that sounds great to me.
20th of September or 20th of November, sorry, submission deadline.
Yeah.
By the beginning of next year, I guess we'll see the winner. January.
If a established Hollywood creator who self-financed something wins this, I'll be super pissed. But if it's a sort of an emerging new voice,
I don't know if they'd let it go that way, because I think they want to promote the other story.
I hope so, but that's exactly what happened in VR, right? Carnegie Arena won an Oscar in a category that had never existed, and they closed it as soon as he won it.
Yeah, you might be right. It's just like the name.
There's a cynical part of me.
The marketing department.
It's like is Robert Rodriguez going to win this?
Yeah, we'll see. 11th of January.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Another little piece of news we've got is Luma with their Ray 3 in Dream Machine, and the interesting thing to me about this was seeing the appearance of, or the first appearance I've seen, although since I've seen somebody else taking a crack at this on their own, but HDR, EXR output from generative AI, so 16-bit image 16-bit image sequence coming out of one of these. It's not cheap.
I remain skeptical. I think the training data is predominantly going to be 8-bit, and it's going to be low dynamic range.
That's what Jim said online.
Yeah, I don't know if their model is actually working in floating point, or if everything's kind of quantized down. I am extremely skeptical of the HDR. But I will say, Luma does win the award for most fascinating pivot in the entire AI space, which Luma was nerfs and only nerfs. And then they started getting into generative, and then they don't do nerfs or splats at all anymore. Absolutely fascinating. Their first round of funding was based entirely on a completely different, borderline incompatible stack with what they're doing now, which was, I mean, hey, go for the money. I guess they chased it and they got it. But fascinating pivot. They went from sort of the best option for on your phone nerfs and splats to generative video.
The other version of this that I saw, which I think is potentially what these guys are doing as well. I don't know if that's true or not, but there was somebody from ILM, and it's not letting me bring the link up for some reason, but somebody from ILM who was essentially doing a similar kind of thing, but from the I'm going to completely kill the description of it, so I'll try and post a link to it. But somebody at ILM was doing something similar with Flux, I think it was, and having HDR outputs. Anyway.
There's
it's blocked; it won't let you share it.
Yeah,
Disney's really big on their.
Luma spent some of their billions in VC on just blocking a LinkedIn post.
Well, there are way more things that I want to share. We're coming towards the 20 minutes over mark, and
I was like, I thought he was going to say time, and I was like, Yeah, that's in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, no, the top of the
sure.
hour. That's
I love deadlines. I love the sound they make as they go rushing by.
absolutely.
Someone said once. One silly little thing that I will share with you, which was a test of my own, was in Gemini. So this was, I think, the image was basically this. It was just me at, I think it was NAB New York. I asked it to fill in the legs, and because it didn't have
Wow.
legs, did a pretty decent job.
Yeah, I buy that.
So I was kind of cut off at the waist there, somewhere just below the waist, and it added legs. And the next thing I did, obviously, was shoved it into VO3 and asked it to make me breakdance.
No.
And
Oh,
you can't
so
hear this sort
rad.
of thing.
Heck yeah.
So
But it-
rad. So rad.
Nice.
What did you prompt the shoes, or did it guess shoe style based off of the top half of your body?
I wasn't specific about the shoes, but I guess it got it.
Yeah,
About right.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, like,
that
plausible.
looks pretty accurate.
Yeah,
I'm not
plausible.
sure your rhythm is accurate, but
Yeah, no,
yeah.
it's definitely not.
Well, you can't
But-
blame me for that. It's the AI's fault.
No, I meant the rhythm was better. No, it's good.
I was with no,
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, no, I was with Danny. I think we were all expecting Ray Gun style moves, and it's definitely a little bit better than that.
There's a cool video out. A bunch of my friends worked on the Walt Disney at Disneyland right now, the new figure.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
Figure. There's a video out that's like Walt Disney breaking down, and you like tune in to be like, "Ooh, how did it break?" And in fact, he starts break dancing.
Dancing, amazing,
So, yeah,
perfect
pretty awesome.
use of AI.
Right?
See,
This is what it was meant for.
No, I actually have been saying repeatedly, Will Smith eating spaghetti being the new sort of like Marcy Kodak, test of a model is so appropriate, because it's like Will Smith eating spaghetti, and I know he has since like done his own video making fun of it, but as an idea, that is an idea that would never reach the screen, right? Like, how much is Will Smith going to cost?
Yeah.
What creative is going to ever wrap their heads around he's just eating spaghetti? Like, these are, AI is so good in terms of prompt to pixel, like those just sort of just make something, which this is.
Mhm.
That's what it's for. It's for things that are not worth making financially. It'll cost more than it will ever be worth to make it, either too much time or talent fees or whatever. Like, that's what AI
this
is
is
for.
clearly cost millions, or would cost millions to make. I've got one more quick one, which is WAN 2.2 Animate.
Woo, look at that.
This is
I'm very impressed with this. Like, just
Mhm.
every sample I've been seeing of the WAN Animate is very impressive. I mean, and Runway had the Act, and it seems very similar, but this is something you can run local, and you can, iterate endlessly without burning tokens.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, you can either run it locally in Comfy or in the cloud and take a video. This is the source video, obviously, and then its reference image, and then it generates this video on the left. It's pretty nuts.
It's fascinating. It still can't get percussives.
It doesn't do the lip sync. That's what falls apart in it.
Yeah, like
And
I'm
for
waiting
this-
for the thing that can actually, as someone who spent years and years and years animating figures and video to audio, I'm super attuned to where are my lips and where are my teeth and how are my percussives being created. And I'm waiting for the thing that figures it out. I don't feel like it's that complicated, but it seems to be the thing that we just can't find.
I think I've seen a couple of
get
people doing things on top of this just for the mouth.
Mhm.
Because of that, there's a couple models out there I think that do get there already. But yeah,
there's definitely some good. There's some creators out there that are doing insane work in terms of, like, the work that they're outputting. It may not be working in CG, and especially working in animation. We've been seeing the really low tier, especially children's programming, style of
Mhm.
animation where, like no more than 10 minutes per second, kind of workflows, like really just jamming out some absolute garbage.
Yeah.
This stuff, I have almost all generative AI is above that bar as far as I'm
Yes.
concerned.
Yeah.
And
No, I think it's definitely getting there.
it's getting
And-
there. It's getting there frighteningly fast.
It's so
Oh.
fast, in fact, that WAM 2.5 is out just as people are posting their first experiments, like me, of 2.2 Animate. Here's 2.5, missing a couple of versions because they're just like, nope, they don't have time for
We don't talk
2.4.
We don't talk about. We don't
Yeah.
talk about. We don't talk about 0.3.
So go check it out. I haven't done.
We don't talk about it.
Bringing
So I-
up something that I and I know we're out of time, but it's interesting. Like we've all heard the story of like Pixar knew when the compute was going to be at the point where they could make a movie, and so they raised money for that. I feel like Moore's law has become like we're moving so fast right now. It's just insane because
Yeah.
the tools are using the compute power, but then crunching the way that they work. So we're moving faster than the ability
Yep.
to catch up with the compute. And this is the thing that's fascinating to me right now is watching how we're all just running so quickly. Like you said, I can learn
Yeah.
about something in the next week. Someone goes, "Oh yeah, but have you seen the update?"
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Well,
Yeah.
in 23, I was up to the minute. I was testing, Nerf stuff the day that it dropped. I was spending all my time compiling and recompiling and, breaking environments and fixing environments and testing stuff out. And I realized exactly that, which is that the progress is not just pick a lane, generative image, generative video, generative audio, music versus voice. Pick a lane. Any one of those lanes is moving faster than any one creator can stay on top of. And then if you're a multi-hyphenate and you need all of that, you need all generative AI, you need 3D models as well as video and all that. So my decision in like mid 23 was actually not to slow down, but to decrease my sample rate. And so instead of trying everything the day that it came out, just wait a couple weeks and see if that buzz kind of sticks around a little bit of those people that are trying to work at that really high frequency.
Yeah.
And my sample rate is slowed down now where I'm trying something new like once a month maybe. And I'm feature locking where it's like I know that this is going to be better next week, but I'm going to use this now because it works, and I'm going to have this pang as that new model drops of like, oh God, I want to start over and use this new model. But just that experience, not just from 23, but it's my entire, VFX career, that experience of like that pang isn't matched by the reality because that model will look better in some percentage of situations, but you'll lose something else. And so I think like as creatives working with generative AI, we all need to just kind of like slow down. And that doesn't mean like ignore stuff. It just means like your sample rate is like, what are you trying to make right now? What is the best option right now? Figure out how to use that and make the thing and ignore the new things because they're just going to make you have FOMO and they're not actually going to get your thing made. They're just going to keep hitting the reset button. And it was Jared from Red. He used to run DVX User, and he quit DVX User with a statement that was like, I started this community to make my movie, and now however many years later, I haven't made my movie because I'm waiting for the new firmware update or the new lens adapter and it's like this is not making things. This is like procrastination using technology. And I think that that's the reality of AI. It's not about procrastination, but it is trying to stay on top of it means not using it.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly downloading the new model, trying the new thing.
That's true. I think that's everything. I mean, I still
it's life.
And when I write, I still use a pen and paper because it's all the distractions that make it more complicated to get my concepts on the page.
Yeah. Slow down.
Which brings us nicely onto our gadget of the week to wrap the show. And you mentioned something about camera hardware in there, so that's
a good segue. Good segue.
Transition.
Yeah. Dun, 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 it's a segue. Dun, 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 segue.
What we wanted to show or talk about was and I'm trying to find a picture of it right now so that we can actually show something about it. But the maybe you guys can talk about it while I find it.
Yeah, while he finds it.
iPhone dock with Genlock.
Oh.
So this is something that's kind of interesting because Genlock has been possible in really ghetto ways for years. Androids are Genlockable. Android devices are syncable.
But then they have green bubbles, so we don't want them anyways.
Yeah, you can't text anyone.
Moving on.
While you're filming. But the interface has not existed until now, but the capability has been there. You know, you can time code, you can sync, but you have to basically write your own app. You know, it's at that level. And you know, I know a bunch of people that have built Raspberry Pi camera arrays or Android camera arrays, and it's all deep nerd custom code to get it all to synchronize. But the crazy thing about it is that some of that sync is actually higher frequency and more accurate than the sync we use on movies. And so I'm super into this iPhone dock. If Ed ever finds a picture, there it is. So, I mean, this is just an accessory you plug your iPhone into, and it provides sync and some other, other great features. But sync is a really big one, where now you can have a broadcast camera or a Red or an Alexa or whatever with an iPhone side by side, and actually have some semblance of a professional, semi-automatable, workflow, which is,
and of course, the thing that's
huge.
Our industry, or where my ears are specifically, is the ability to sync it to a wall, right?
Yeah.
So now your VP LED wall, one of the challenges, I mean, I could show you hundreds of photos on my phone right now of an LED wall with scan lines, because I had to send to somebody, but because I'm on an iPhone, it looks like crud. Which is fine and makes producers feel better, because I'm taking pictures of their items and they're like, yeah, it's an iPhone. I wonder how that's going to change. But again, it's the democratization of the ability to do this, right? We have taken one more step towards everybody can get Genlock and everyone can make it happen. Yes, you have to go buy a new iPhone, and yes, that is a cost, but relative to a camera. However, I went on a rant this week because there's this stupid mobile commercial that's showing like a guy coming off a building, and then there's a person on a harness following them with an iPhone, and it's a $500,000 stunt. There is no way we're filming this on an iPhone. Like,
there's no need.
I get kind of what they're going for. Again, it's not that I don't pick up what you're going for, but let's also be clear: professional will still be filmed on professional film. Film. Well, I did just film on film. So, because all of Fallout is film on LED walls. That's a whole nother episode.
Amazing.
So I think that, like, we also, again, it is not the death of cameras. It is about the entry level of the market more than the high end of the market. Exactly like the AI tools, right? It is the opportunity for those who didn't have access to do something. And I think that's
I'll go on a teeny tiny, very, I promise, short rant about timecode and sync, which is ST2110 only works because of a technology called PTP, which is the timing protocol for ST2110. When we talk about Genlock and we talk about SMPTE timecode caps out for some 30 frames per second, for some 48, depending on, that's another rant. But SMPTE timecode really doesn't really hit 60 frames per second per its own defined spec. And we're talking about milliseconds, right? We're talking about thousandths of a second. PTP is nanosecond level. So it's not millisecond, it's not microsecond, it's about 9 to 50 nanoseconds. So when you have everything on your set synchronized via PTP, which is required for it to be ST2110, every device on set has an insanely precise concept of what time it is. And so instead of synchronizing your devices and instead of time code, you basically just say the time is 12:26. At 12:27, begin recording. And because everyone knows exactly what time it is, you, instead of sending a start signal to your cameras, which they may or may not pick up at the same time, and they may be a little bit off a line or a full, partial frame, every device goes, I know exactly what time it is. I was told to record in 12 milliseconds, 11:10, record. And so you have automatic sync, you have automatic time code, because every single frame, every pixel has a timestamp effectively. And that timestamp is insanely accurate within within that time zone. That
getting
ecosystem.
that to sync to the LED walls is always the challenge because they have a more unique, ability. But again, another episode. One of the projects I did in Imagineering was Rise of the Resistance. Rise of the Resistance uses PTP to sync, but we go across wireless. So we adjust to NTP because you can't take PTP across wireless. And then we reconvert to PTP on the vehicles. And Cisco has a switch that offers that, but it has a freewheel. And that freewheel can take a significant amount of time once it's lost power to come back. So we had to go to Cisco and say, your switches don't work for us. But there's no ability to jam sync. So we had to write our own software. So that is the thing. PTP is, there's a show control software out there that says, well, we sync within 100 milliseconds. And it's like, dude, that's 3 frames. Like that's not a thing that will make work.
This little device is a very sensitive time code, and I have found that we have gone 26 minutes over our 1 hour mark. So
we're Instagram post that the only people listening to this are the people who are at that point of like, oh, let me talk about PTP versus NTP.
There we go.
We've got 40 more minutes of PTP coverage for you here. So stick around for the after show, and we'll be there.
Well, I'm not gonna ever promise that we bring this thing in under an hour, because honestly,
I'm gonna keep promising.
I was promised.
That's why my job is
I have lunch
not your
meeting
job.
for me. I was promised.
You were promised, and we failed. And I'm happy that you're still here and you didn't run away,
guys.
It's been a total pleasure, Danny. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely, thank you. And again, anytime. But maybe over beers if we're going to talk PTP versus NTP.
Oh yeah.
And SIP-T 2110.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Thank you, Andy, my wonderful co-host.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening. If you're still here, you PTP loving people, this has been the CG Pro Show. We will be back in another 2 weeks with episode 4 with 58 more models that have come out since the last one. But I hope you've enjoyed today. I hope you've learned something. Tell us what you think. We want to hear what you think about the show. We want to keep evolving it and growing it and make it be the things that you want it to be. So let us know. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to join the PTP conversation in depth, or any of these conversations that we had, we have this thing called the CG Pro Inner Circle, which is absolutely devoted to teaching throughout the week and having all of these kinds of conversations, but in interactive mode. So you can, we had a couple people ask questions here. You can join us and find out all about this. We drop things in there before the show. We have conversations. We meet every week in there. Join us in the Inner Circle. It's a subscription, but it's our most affordable group that we run at CG Pro. We also have a course that's coming up in AI creative development for pre-production. If you're interested in that, come sign up for a course. But the Inner Circle is a great, easy way to get started with the CG Pro community. We'd love to see you in there. We'd love to see you on this next show. Let us know again what you think, and we'll have an open day coming up soon. You can join us on that. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys again. Hope you all staying tuned and to the crazy changes that are happening in the world, and staying safe and doing all the things that you can control. We'll see you again soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.